Hey guys, what's going on? So today we're doing a guide for the new hunt. It's pretty much just a follow-up video to yesterday's where we were just kind of going in there, giving our first impressions and dying horribly. But we have come to the point where we can complete stage 11, not auto quite yet. I know how I would auto it, I just don't have the units raised currently. So we can talk about that. We can also talk about manually doing it if you just really want some immunity pieces and whatever else. So the units you see on the table here are the units I did it with: Luna, Shadow Rose, Hazel, and Ravi. It wasn't actually super easy because it's not an optimal team, but it does do the trick. One of my friends was saying how easy stage 11 of this is. It's so easy, in fact, he only takes 3 heroes and takes a fodder along. And okay, that's cool when you have every natural 5-star in the game to choose from, but for us normal folk, we gotta get a little bit creative sometimes. I will say though that it is, in my opinion, by far the easiest of the stage 11 hunts, and I think that's mainly due to the fact that you can just kinda do it, at least manually, with a lot of different combinations. For some others, like Wyvern, for example, you kinda need a dedicated team for it, mostly Waters or his combat readiness, blah blah blah. I haven't even gotten to like Banshee and Golem. I think there was a cheese strat for Banshee 11 as well with Silk and some artifact, but it is a 5-star artifact, so not everyone's gonna have that. Okay, but regardless. So, stage 11. Let's first talk about manual and the team comp. So, Luna was our DPS. I'm not too sure if Daydream Joker really makes sense there, but that's just what she has. I kind of don't want to be switching them around all the time. When I want to like go for a Wyvern and something, I would have to switch it back to Joker. So I just kind of kept her with that. Probably anything else would be better since it doesn't seem to have an effect there. Ravi as half DPS, half tank. She's not much of a tank with 760 defense, but does the job fine. Shadow Rose, very, very important, but it doesn't necessarily need to be Shadow Rose, obviously, and very important for her dispelling the buff and decreasing defense. So one thing I didn't consider is that the Berserk that this stage 11 has can be dispelled. And so that's very important to dispel, otherwise he'll very quickly get into maximum Berserk and destroy you. Finally, Hazel as our buffer slash healer. She's not quite good enough because there's so much AoE there and her healing just can't keep up most of the time. Sometimes it can, but for the most part you're going to want like a real solid healer. Someone who can remove debuffs would be better, so Destina, Achates, Angelica would also be good. I'm personally not using my Destina because she is a little bit too slow right now, and I kind of stole her necklace for someone else, so I've been trying a lot of different combinations to see what is the most consistent, and so far it seems like the team I kind of had thrown together there is the most consistent, but again, that probably has a lot to do with their gear. So one very important thing about gear is effectiveness. You need your Dispeller, the one that's going to be removing the Berserk, to have very high effectiveness, above 70 or at least 70% effectiveness. I was trying with Clury, and she's another extremely good option, by the way. She only has 67 effectiveness, and the very first time I tried, he resisted the buff removal, and so he still had Berserk. So there's that. Need to have, I think, at least 70. It might be 75 because before I switched her on her gear, she had 71 effectiveness and he still resisted. I don't know if I mislooked at that or whatever, but yeah, you need to have high effectiveness. So that's the most important thing for manual: a Dispeller, a healer, and a DPS, which is pretty much the, usual stuff for content. So we can take a look at a manual run here. He starts by summoning his eggs, and so when you're manualing, of course, the most important thing is to get rid of the eggs quickly, because otherwise you're not going to be doing any damage to the boss. As far as auto is concerned, you pretty much need some strong AoE heroes to get rid of the eggs for you, because on auto, they're going to target the boss automatically and just keep doing no damage to him, pretty much. I mean, technically you probably could eventually kill him without getting rid of the eggs ever, but yeah, not only is it going to take forever, but you'll keep getting debuffed by the eggs hatching. I guess they would only hatch once if you really have 0 sort of AoE. But regardless, so what I kind of try and do here is get them down low and then use eventually Ravi's AoE to destroy them. And then once the eggs are gone, you can actually start doing some damage to the boss. I also throw Archie in there every now and then, which is a obvious benefit of doing it manual, because Arky will never be used on auto. And then of course, once you see that he is in Berserk mode, you want to of course as soon as possible dispel that with your Dispeller. Another thing I want to mention is that this boss deals tons of AoE damage to your entire team, and he very rarely, so like the tank after the first wave, because the minions, you know, are going to target the tank more often, and if you don't have at least a somewhat beefy front line, they might die. But after that, at least half the time he's doing AoE attacks. So one thing to consider is that if you're taking Clury for as your Dispeller, if she has Arius equipped, you're gonna need for her to be very tanky to survive, because my Clury, for example, isn't really tanky enough. She doesn't have good enough gear, and she does have Arius, which I think would help a lot here if she was tanky, but mine just kept dying too fast. But that's something to consider when you're going to be taking Clury or any other knight that has Arius equipped, is that there's tons of AoE here, and pretty strong AoE, especially if you can't immediately get rid of the Berserk. Besides that, of course, under 30% health is where you really need to amp it up, because you can't really heal very much at that point. So at that point, I had just used Arky to finish him off pretty much, and that was that. But yeah, as far as auto is concerned, if you want to be successful at that, you're going to need a much more dedicated healer, again, like Destina, Achates, or Angelica, as well as a strong AoE DPS. I'm not too sure if the likes of Lidica would work. I'm thinking about raising her for this, so I can maybe start to auto it. She does have an AoE here on the Thorn Bush, but that is a 3-turn cooldown. I've seen comps with Celestial Mercedes do very well, although the Celestial Mercedes I saw was very, very well built, I think with around 4,000 attack. But she has AoE on her second and third skill. My friend said he's using Bellona as his AoE. I don't have Bellona, unfortunately. But yeah, it probably would be a lot safer to have AoE on the second and third skill. I'm pretty sure a lot of the mages have AoE even on their first skill, so that could be something to consider as well. A mage, I'm not too sure of the full potential of Yuna and if she can do a lot of damage, but she also provides a speed and attack buff, so that would be pretty nice as well. She hits all enemies with the first and third skill, but the second doesn't hit anything, so you might need another AoE in there and have her just more as a support. Oh, this bizarre guy I got actually doesn't sound too bad. I mean, he can dispel all with his ult, dispelling all buffs, but unfortunately that has a massive 6-turn cooldown, and he also is AoE with his second skill, so that could be something to consider. Not sure if I want to raise a whole unit just for that boss. I'm probably just going to mostly be sticking to Wyvern for now. There are still so many other speed pieces I need for my heroes, and so I kind of don't want to raise any heroes just for that one hunt, especially when I'm not even too sure who I would be using the immunity sets for right now. But yeah, we can go through my heroes, check out their stats a little bit. Shadow Rose is again definitely more geared towards PvP, but I did switch out her ring to give her the effectiveness she needed, because she definitely didn't have enough. It was like at 14%, so that was useless. So I gave her this. I know, I never thought I would raise effectiveness ring, but I was like, well, I kind of want to start beating this boss, and she needs a lot of effectiveness. Also, Shadow Rose is my newest 6-star, and I just kind of like to play with her, so, but she still does have tons of speed, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Speed and effectiveness for her. I mean, she does the job just fine. I really wish I could upgrade these skills a little bit more, get that 1-turn cooldown, get that effect chance higher. Luna, DPS-y build, not very high on attack, wasn't very lucky with the sub rolls there, unfortunately. Ravi's kind of the same, with a bit extra health in the substats, because she is the front line. And then Hazel, you know, kind of whatever. Roman here actually fills 2 roles pretty well. He can dispel with his third, but it is again on a pretty long cooldown of 5 turns, unless you get that up to +3, then it's 4 turns. And he has his second and third skill are both AoEs. Just again, I don't know the damage potential. I heard mages don't have that great damage potential, but when AoE is kind of pretty important when you're trying to auto it, then it's a thought at least. But yeah, regardless of which Dispeller you choose to go with, just again, make sure they have tons of effectiveness, because if the boss resists the buff removal, you might be screwed. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Having AoE heroes helps both manual and auto tremendously. So if you have any strong AoEs, you may want to consider raising them. AoE damage reduction, that's just a little bit harder because there isn't many things that just reduce AoE damage. So the next best thing would be getting AoE healers like Destina or Angelica. Barrier with Angelica. I mean, Angelica's just OP by herself anyway, so may as well raise her. I might raise her for this actually. My Wyvern team might even go a bit smoother than also. But yeah, still got a few others to work on before that. But make sure to tell me what you think. If you have your own strategies, feel free to share them in the comments down below. If you're one of those people that can auto it without AoE heroes, that would be interesting as well. How long your runs usually take, and if the spider's just like laying there the whole time makes a big impact on anything. Just for fun, we can see how far this ragtag team gets in full auto. I don't think I've actually tried that yet because I knew that was not going to work. But yeah, we can just see. So I got kind of lucky right there. I guess you probably didn't see it, but he was actually going into Berserk mode on the same turn that Shadow Rose was using her second skill. So the Berserk immediately, before it even had a chance to appear, went away. Unfortunately, we're going to attack this boss way too many times before that cooldown is reset, so he'll be probably at least at stage 2 of Berserk before we have a chance to do anything else. I mean, we are doing some damage, you can see, so I definitely wouldn't say it's impossible without AoE heroes. It's just going to be a lot harder, because ultimately, at one point, maybe before we die, I'm not too sure, those eggs will explode. Yep, there they go. And debuff us all. And that can introduce a lot of RNG. Like if your healer gets silenced and there's no way to remove that silence, then, you know, yeah, your runs aren't going to be very smooth, I would say. So, yeah. But I mean, okay, yeah, there goes Hazel, which means no healing anymore. And he is at way too high of a Berserk. So if I were just to like replace one of my DPS with an AoE, I still don't think we would be able to get rid of that Berserk as often as we would need to. On paper, Shadow Rose should actually be a little bit better than Clury for getting rid of it because she has a 3-turn cooldown here, and Clury has a 4-turn cooldown on her ult. But Clury can get an extra attack sometimes, so that might make up for it. Also, she increases her own combat readiness by 25%, so she can get a lot of attacks off pretty quickly. But on the other hand, that will also increase the boss's Berserk faster. But yeah, for real this time, I guess that will pretty much do it. Again, you can drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Leaving a like if you happen to enjoy is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.